Welcome to another episode of the Hardcat Core 99 series. In this episode, we're going to look at how to create a new Hardcat workgroup and how to assign that to a user. To view the workgroups or to create a new workgroup in Hardcat, you first of all have to go to the Administration menu, which is File, Administration, Workgroups. When we access our list of workgroups, it will give us a list of the pre-created workgroups in Hardcat. For any new system, there'll be a workgroup called System Default. To create a new workgroup, we first of all have to press the New button. Now with our new workgroup created, we first of all have to give our workgroup a description. This workgroup I'm going to create today is going to restrict the assets based around assets located in Victoria and where the asset type is equal to computer equipment. So I'm going to call this Computer Equipment in Victoria. Now with our description enabled, we can go through and set our domain control options. The different areas that we can restrict are based around the engineer. So within the help desk and the work orders module, we can restrict the user so that they see work orders based around assigned engineers. We also can restrict around locations, either by adding location folders or individual locations. Restrict based on cost center folders or cost centers directly. Asset types, either by all asset types within a folder or individual asset types. Problem types, as well as for a work order or a problem, we can restrict it to see that where they are the caller or engineer. The user today, again, it's going to be Computer Equipment in Victoria. Computer Equipment is an asset type structure. So first of all, we have to click onto Asset Type. And Computer Equipment is a folder structure within asset types. So instead of adding them in individually, I'm going to add under the folder section the Computer Equipment folder by clicking Add, selecting Computer Equipment and going OK. As we can see here, it added the folder in on the left hand side here, and then it added all the items that are within the Computer Equipment folder. I can now press Close to save that. If I want to enable that, I first of all have to click Enabled. If I also want to associate this with only items in Victoria, I'll choose the Locations function. Click on Locations. Victoria is a folder as well, so in this instance, I'm going to click on the Add button under Folders, select Victoria, and go OK. As we can see again, it has added all the Victorian locations to our workgroup. I'll press Close now. Again, if I want to enable that, I have to click Enabled. The other option that we have under for locations is Allow blank codes. This will then also show us any assets that are not associated to any locations. Asset types does not have this option available to it, as all assets in the system have to have an asset type associated. You could not have an asset with no asset type, therefore Allow blank codes does not have to be assigned to that option. So I can now press OK to save our workgroup. We now have a new workgroup called Computer Equipment in Victoria. I'm now going to close out of our workgroup. To demonstrate this functionality, we first of all have to ensure that domain control is turned on within our global options area. So that's File, Administration, Options. Within our options area, we have Enable Domain Control Hardcat. If that is selected and we press OK, that will then enable domain control within Hardcat. If our user is a web user, we also then have to go to Hardcat Web Options and select Enable Domain Control in Hardcat Web, as we can have it turned off from the client but enabled in the web. The choice is yours as to how you would like to have that configured. With that now selected, we're going to press OK. To show you how we can apply that to a user, we have to go to the Hardcat Security Settings. File, Administration, Security. I'm now going to update the Melbourne Chief user and change their workgroup from Melbourne to be Computer Equipment in Victoria. By pressing OK on that, that has now changed the workgroup associated to this login. I'm going to press OK to save. So we now have updated the Melbourne account to be associated to our new Computer Equipment in Victoria workgroup. We're now going to log into Hardcat using the new updated Melbourne login. The first thing we can double check to see if this is working, we can check the location structure. If we go to the location icon or lists and locations. As we can see here, our location structure now only shows us the folder structure for Victoria. If I was to go back to our main super user account and go to locations icon or lists and locations, you'll notice that the full location structure is shown, whereas the Melbourne user, Victorian user, is only shown the folder structures for the areas that they're allowed to see. If we now go to our list of assets, lists assets, or our asset icon to bring up our assets within the system, we'll see that we have here only 13 assets assigned. We don't have any search result applied, and therefore only 13 assets are shown. If we were to open up one of these items, we'll see if we click on the Asset Types button that again, only the computer equipment is available to us to be able to select from. If we were to click on the Location button, only the locations within the Melbourne structure are available to us. So as we can see now, this user is limited to only items within the Victoria folder structure and assets within the computer equipment folder structure.